All right, I'm gonna let some folks get in here. All right, let's see if anybody's in here yet. I don't think so. All right, there we go. All right, there it goes. Now it's actually live. Holy shit, I made that way more painful than it needed to be, didn't I? Jesus Christ. Wait for some folks to get in here. See what we have, 4 so far. 5. Hey Josh, how you doing, man? Wait for a couple more folks to get in here, and then we'll start talking about some guns here. Can everybody actually hear me? I know I always ask that, and it's really annoying, but I just want to make sure there's actually audio. Okay, so you can hear me. Okay, good. Perfect. All right, just when we get a couple more people here, let me post on the Discord. Get a couple more people in here, we'll kick it off. So what are you guys up to this evening? What's everybody doing? How are you guys spending this fine? What is this? Was this Tuesday night? What are y'all up to? I'm drinking this lovely Mexican Coke, which is so fucking good. I don't know if y'all like it or not, but... Oh, cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Derailing my truck of brother-in-law trash. Cool. Yeah, I bet you're pretty fucking pissed off about that. I know I would be. I'm sure there's an amazing story there if you feel like sharing it. I feel like reading it. All right, we got 9 people. Let's see. I want to get some more Discord folks in here. All right, 10 people. We'll call that enough. So, new Beretta that I'm going to be testing on the channel. I finally got a 92X. Everybody asked me to get a 92X. I put it off forever. I finally have one. So that's going to be really fun. I'm excited about that. So far, I like it. You'll note that this is the RDO model, the factory RDO, not the Langdon. looking at this, I think the Langdon system is probably pretty radically better. But I think an interesting thing might be to do to test the RDO out for a while, and then get a Langdon slide. I think that could be pretty entertaining. So that's kind of the plan at the moment. But who here has a 92X or has shot one? Anyway. John, I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you? Hey, now we're up to 12. That's cool. I feel like I think I may have started prematurely, but so yeah, the some other things about this particular 92X. I've got the Wilson Combat sights. I think the front sight is an Ameriglow with the tritium vial in it, so that's pretty awesome. The back is just a blacked out Wilson Combat. No, I was not pointing that in my head. I was pointing it past me. But everything else is stock as far as I know. I'm probably also gonna have the barrel ported. I think I learned my lesson with comps with the last one. If y'all saw the Parker Mountain Machine compensator video, I think in the future I'm gonna have things ported whenever possible. Chuck Wheeler says that he finds the grips a little too aggressive and they can be changed. So the grips are more aggressive on the 92X. A lot of folks who are sort of Beretta aficionados consider that to be pretty desirable, because a lot of the others, they weren't aggressive enough. But if you're a longtime Beretta shooter and that's what you're accustomed to, yeah, this is probably going to feel like a lot. Like the actual grip panels are almost sandpapery, you know. So yeah, that I could see that. I could see that being too aggressive for you. H.J. Kim asks, what's the difference between the two? You're new to Berettas. Do you mean the difference between like a 92X and like a regular 92? I mean, the biggest thing you're going to notice is the 92X has a Vertec grip. So that really radically changes the feel, in my opinion. I'm still not sure how I feel about the Vertec grip. I don't know. You know, I'm just kind of thinking it through as I sit here. It feels a little thicker than necessary here at the top. Like I feel like I'm gripping mostly like that, and then the rest of my fingers are just kind of hanging on. I'm sure I'm going to get used to it. I have virtually no time with this gun, so I'm just showing this to you guys now because I thought it was kind of interesting. But better than finishing prematurely. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody likes when you finish prematurely. Josh says, I'm thinking of trading my 320 for a 365X macro. It interests me, the 320, though that Milwaukee City PD report doesn't inspire confidence. You know, I'm thinking about doing a video about striker-fired guns and different striker-fired systems and some of the things that can go wrong for people. I think most of the sort of accidental discharge problems with the 320 have probably been largely solved. I'm not saying this for sure, but I think the 320 has such a light trigger, and having no trigger safety, I think that for a lot of people, like cops, it could be an accident waiting to happen. You know, you guys know I'm not particularly pro law enforcement, but cops don't tend to get a lot of training. A couple of my friends are cops. They've confirmed that they don't get a lot of training. And I think that the 320 is kind of asking for trouble for some people. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd be concerned anymore about accidental discharges, or not accidental, just, you know, the gun just fucking going off. You know, I don't think that happens so much anymore with the 320. As far as I know, I could be wrong. I think the bigger problem is just that trigger system for a lot of people is just really not a great option unless you're going to train with it. I have the same issue with the 365. I really like the gun, but it's like that's a really light trigger with no trigger safety to be stuffing down your pants hole pointed at your dick, you know? Yeah, and yeah, Shark Actual says, I mean, lack of cop training is why the NYPD got 13-pound trigger pulls on their new Glocks at the time, because they were staging the trigger pulls like their old revolvers. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good example. And for folks who aren't going to train often, either a heavier trigger pull or something like LEM or the DAC system, or, you know, this, or just double action, single action makes a lot of sense. Like, I know folks will say, well, you know, I have a hard time mastering that first trigger pull. But, you know, that still, it beats the shit out of shooting yourself in the ass or shooting your dick off or whatever. So I don't know. Part of me is starting to wonder as I get older if striker fired guns don't require a little bit more training. I know that's the first thing we always suggest to people, but I don't know. There's a lot that can go wrong there if you're not paying attention. But City of Trees says, new subscriber. Oh man, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the support. Arcade 84 says, it's why I prefer DASA. Yeah, DASA is not only is it better probably for folks who are just starting out and have zero training, but it's really just, it's not as hard to master as folks make it out to be. It's really not. It's requires a little bit of effort, and it's really no big deal. But I talked you out of a 442. Yeah, that's understandable. Now, was the 442 going to be like one of your first guns? Is you know, if you're like an enthusiast, it's a great gun to get. But yeah, I wouldn't buy it as like one of your first guns or anything. Shark Actual says, so I don't really have a dog in the race as a newbie for handguns, but I've heard more people who main strikers talk about, oh, you don't gotta always treat the gun as loaded, versus people who have a larger body of experience thinking those people are crazy. Yeah, you need to always treat the fucking gun like it's loaded. Like, muzzle discipline, regardless of circumstance, is extremely important. One of my personal pet peeves is people who think, you know, they'll be like, well, we checked to see if the gun is unloaded, so now I can wave it around like a fucking asshole. Like, no, that's anyway, I'm not gonna get started on that. But, and Josh says the LCR is an awesome J-frame revolver. Yeah, LCR is fantastic. It's really killer. All right, so the 92X, I have another kind of thing that I'm considering doing with this long term. I am going to kind of slowly convert it into a Langdon as much as possible, but with a Vertec frame. I think that would be a cool project to see, like, what's it like to do that at home, to just piece by piece. I know it's going to be more expensive than if I just bought the damn gun outright, but it's going to be really fun to piece that together, and I'm probably going to do the trigger work and stuff at home. So, speaking of the trigger, the Beretta trigger was already amazing. They pretty radically improved this thing. I'm going to be obsessive and check it again. So, you know, the usual Beretta take-up, super firm wall. Yeah, and I know it's got the D-spring installed. That's a really good trigger pull. Yeah, that's really excellent. Let's look at the reset. Longer than a lot of things. Longer than the Langdon, but it's very crisp. Yeah, that's still a really good reset. Yeah, I mean, they did a good job on this. I don't know if a whole lot of trigger work is necessary here. Some of the Langdons, to me, actually feel too light. A couple of the ones that I've tried in stores, they felt it was a little too much. Too much taken off the weight there. But John says DASA pistols are definitely the best looking guns. You know, in some ways, I agree with you there. Yeah. Okay, so Langdon puts in a 13-pound hammer spring versus a 16-pound. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I just don't, I sort of can't translate that into what it's going to actually feel like in my head, but I'm sure that's, you know, a way lighter. Josh says, have you had an opportunity to completely disassemble a 92 series? Yeah, oh yeah, man, absolutely. I've detail stripped a couple of them. And everybody talks about Glock modularity, and obviously Glocks are tremendously modular, but Beretta is no slouch either. There's a ton of parts interchangeability. They fit back together in a very sensible way. I really like working on Berettas. there. In fact, speaking of, one of the other modifications that I made to the lovely 92X here is I installed a G kit, and now that I've done that a couple of times, it was super easy. Berettas do have some little sort of arcane things going on inside, but it's not as crazy as something like a CZ75. But is it hard to replace a 92 extractor? No, not really. I mean, I don't consider anything on a 92 to be particularly difficult to change out. City of Trees asks, are you a 1911 guy? I love shooting them. They're fantastic, but I've had a lot of problems with them in the reliability department. And so to me, a 1911 is kind of like a range toy. I've got one right now that's getting some custom work done on it. Somebody is going to hopefully make it substantially more reliable. But man, I've had such bad luck with 1911s. I'll believe it when I see it, you know. But that said, I wish everything shot like a 1911. So let's see what else. There's some other things going on here with the 92X that I was going to mention. Oh, you know, I still maybe consider the 92A1 to be kind of the definitive Beretta for a couple of different reasons. This thing, I'd forgotten how much more slight in some ways the regular model is. Like it's a lot less beefy than the 92A1, but the 92A1, I prefer the takedown. It's very slightly different, and I do wish they'd carried that over into the 92X. Shark Actual asks, is it that Ruger? Yeah, it's that Ruger. So hopefully somebody can make it work. But John asked if I've tried any 2011s. I think I shot one or two over the years. I've shot so much stuff. I can scarcely remember most of the time what I've fired. It's tough to remember. City of Tree says he's on the fence about ditching his 1911. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's just, to me, if something's not reliable, it's troubling. You know, that really gets on my nerves. Raphael says he's happy with his 92 FS. Yeah, I forget that you joined the 92 club with the rest of us. That's awesome, man. Josh asks, between all your handguns, which caliber are most of them chambered in? Yeah, I mean 9mm. I mean, I have 9mm and 5.56. I have an embarrassing number of guns chambered in 9mm and 5.56. It's really quite bad. I have a problem. but yeah, so what do you guys want to see from a 92X review? Like, when the time comes, like, what are you looking for there? What do you want to know about this gun? Because I'm gonna sort of just approach it like anything else, you know. I'm obviously test the shit out of the reliability, you know, compare it to some other things, but I don't know how much I want to abuse the optics system. Part of me wants to really push that and see if that's as reliable as it could be, because I just, looking at this thing compared to the Langdon system, God, I don't have a lot of faith in it. I don't think that's a great system. I mean, it's basically just bolts it to the top of the slide. There's not really like an optics cut. Nick B asks, what's the difference between the 92X and the M9A3? The M9A3 has, I mean, it's brown. No, they make it in black now too, but it's got a threaded barrel. And let's see what else. I forget. I don't have an A3, so let's see what all's going on with this thing. Let's see. The A3 does not have the front slide serrations, and it's got different sights. I think it's got just like straight up night sights. Improvements over the original design is what you want to know about. It's probably going to be boringly reliable. Yes, it probably is. Josh wants me to compare it to just a regular 92. Absolutely. I'll take a substantial chunk out of the video to talk about that. Shark Actual says he wants to know how the upgrades impact the general experience. Are they worth it if they're necessary? Perverted horse humor, you can count on that. Okay, all right. So really, you guys just basically want to know, how it's gonna hold up next to a standard 92. But I need to get like a regular 92 because the one that I'm always using as the benchmark is the 92A1, and it's got a substantial number of changes. It's really a 40 that is chambered in 9mm, so it's very beefy, and it's the best gun I've ever owned is that 92A1. It's ridiculous. That thing is so nice, and it will be cool to see how this holds up. And yeah, and I'll I'll do a I don't know if you guys remember this. This is a really long time ago. I did this like series on all the changes that I'd made to my Aero M4 E1s. So I reviewed the gun and then I reviewed all the changes as I went. I may do that with this as I slowly do the upgrades. Like I'm probably gonna do barrel first, then trigger stuff, then slide, and and so on and so forth. That would be fun. Arkad's wondering if the slide optic screws will back out with a lot of use. Yeah, I mean that's one of the potential problems. It's just not that well secured relative to other things, relative to like the Glock MOS system or something like that. It's just not well secured. But the bigger problem I think for me is going to be sort of on the usability front. The optic's going to be way fucking tall, It's going to be way up there, and I just think it's a bad system. There's not enough connection space. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I've been kind of struggling with optics on pistols lately. Anyway, I've kind of run into some technique issues I've got to solve personally. So I'm gonna make a video about that too at some point. I'm sure the sound of me drinking soda is fucking disgusting through the microphone. Yeah, the Langdon system is the way to go. I mean, it's the only real solution that's gonna hold up the same way something like the Glock MOS system holds up. This just isn't gonna do it. This, when you think about it, is not tremendously different from those the little plates that fit in the rear dovetail for the rear sight. It's kind of the same thing where it's all perched up on top of the gun. Yeah, I don't. It was a fucking cheap solution. Beretta will do that. They make these wonderful guns and then they'll release some super fucking cheap bullshit solution that needed a lot more development time. I don't understand why they do that. It's very, very weird. City of Trees says local park rangers say hunters are becoming scarce. Any thoughts on that since the 2A community seems to be growing? I don't know, man. I mean, people just go outside less than they used to in general. Hunting is so good. It's good for your wallet. I mean, once you get past the initial costs, like it's good. It's good for the environment. It's good for animals. It prevents factory farming. You're getting awesome food that you shot yourself. So, it's something that I need to learn how to do. Somebody needs to teach me to hunt so that I can get out there and do it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm part of the problem. I don't know. I don't know why hunters are scarce. That's weird. If I knew how to hunt, I'd be out there all the time. Josh asks, how do you view MRDS micro red dots on handguns for overall practicality versus the extra maintenance involved? I have a few of them on a few of my guns, and while they're cool, I would like to see some standardization. Yeah, I mean, I think they are very practical at this point, and I don't know if there's that much maintenance and extra maintenance involved. I mean, my main red dotted pistol is a Glock 45 MOS, and I mean, I put a battery in it 2 years ago, I think, and that's about it. So I don't worry too much about the maintenance end. My problem's more just like the technique stuff that I'm running into, and I think a lot of other people probably run into that stuff as well. Like, for instance, shooting around, red dots are great if you're sort of statically drawing and shooting. You're not gonna really run into any problems there because you can kind of control all the variables and get it right up in front of your face super quick. But shooting around barricades and things, I started to realize that, like, I'm sort of aiming differently. Like, I sort of can track the front sight, and I kind of know just sort of where the round is going to go, and I don't necessarily have it in those weird positions like up in front of my face all the way. Because, I'm in like behind a little cramped barricade or something, and then the red dot really gets in the way because it's blocking my ability to kind of track the front sight, and then I'm trying to get the dot up all weird in front of my face, and you don't have the muscle memory to directly align it in that weird position. So that's kind of hamstringing that a little bit. And then there's this thing I've run into where you can outshoot dots speed wise, and what I mean by that is there's a speed threshold for everybody, and their recoil control, where you're going to be shooting so fast that the dot's going to be off the screen, but you're still getting hits on the target out to 15 yards or whatever. And I haven't figured out how to solve that. I've tried it with compensators and some other stuff, but there's a point with a lot of the pistols that I'm really familiar with where they have dots on them. I can speed wise, I can outshoot the dot, if that makes any sense. H&K's till the end of days asked, if you wanted a 40 Smith & Wesson and you had to decide between a P2000, P30, and PX4, what would you go with? Man, that's tough. The PX4 is going to have less recoil. If it's anything like my Beretta Cougar, it's going to have substantially less recoil. So I lean that way, but I also really miss my HK P2000. I love that thing. It was really great. Really fucking miss it. John says, I really wish we could try the APX in California. Have you tried it? No, I haven't. I mean, I've tried, not the new one. I think I've shot the old one. I haven't even seen a new one in person, I don't think. But have you tried, Josh asked, have you tried reflexive shooting techniques? Tactical Considerations put out a video of him running a P320 with no sights at 100 yards just by using the backplate. I don't know what reflexive shooting techniques are, but I do shoot that way a lot. Like, a lot of times in range videos, if y'all see me sort of like moving around and shooting and stuff, like, I'm basically just, even out to 15 yards, you can just kind of place the gun over the target and pull the trigger, and you're gonna get good hits. That's, not necessarily like a good defensive strategy, obviously, but if you're trying to shoot steel as fast as possible, that works really well. But yeah, I don't have the P2000 anymore, unfortunately. It was a moment of weakness. Have you tried a PX4 Storm? If you like the Cougar, I feel like you dig the Storm. Yeah, I've shot one like at rented it at the range or something somewhere along the way. I always say I'm gonna get a PX4 Storm in 45, and then I never do. So need to rectify that at some point. All right, so the other thing that I want to talk about is I'm working on a video right now on the Walther P99. Another video. It's been a long time since I've touched on this gun. So I had a Talon grips, which made this gun a lot more useful, and then I finally found a really good light for it. This is the Streamlight TLR 7A, it looks like, and this fits perfectly. Really great. This is one of the most underrated guns that I've ever run across, and the more that I shoot it, the more underrated that I think that it is, especially in light of what we were talking about earlier with the P320 and, folks discharging them into their legs and butts and dicks and all that important stuff that they really don't want bullet holes in. A system like this is a great solution, and you can still use it like a regular striker fired gun without the double action without the double action stuff. But I love that DA pull. It's super smooth. It's super slick. It just adds weight, you know. And then you also have the anti-stress mode where, you know, there's a little bit of extra pull length there, and then the actual single action. Well, I guess it is a single action pull in this case. This is a pre-cocked striker. Is super light, and good lord, that reset. It is so short. God, it's outstanding. I think that would be a remarkably good solution for a lot of people, but I can't remember. I don't think they're making the P99 anymore. You know, RIP P99. It's the granulate. It's the granulate Talon grips. That to me felt the best. Felt better than the Pro. Yeah, and they're not making the P99, so you know, I think that what they really needed to do. I'm also upset because are they still making the PPQ now, or is that been fully replaced by the PDP or whatever it is? This system really needed to be built into some version of the PPQ or the PDP. That would have been really great. Like it's hard for me to even relay how useful this is. Like after you spend some time with it, and I think to a new shooter, I think they would feel really secure with this. Let's see. I'm gonna kind of do these questions in a weird order. Brian says he's been thinking about selling his VP9 if he could find a P99. Yeah, you know, I mean, hell, have both. And Volpecula asks, doesn't the TP9 have a DASA trigger like that? Maybe the earlier ones do. The ones that I've got don't, but I have seen some that have the decocker. So it's like it's the single action only mode, but it does still have a decocker to drop the striker. I've seen that, I think. I could be wrong about this, though. This is just what I think I've seen, which really just means I should quit speculating and shut the fuck up about it is really what that means. So they're just still making the Q5 match is the only PPQ being made. That's a damn shame. Chris asks, what is your opinion on the tactical guys and a lot of firearms instructors moving to the SIG platform, the 320 and the 365, even given the perceived safety concerns? I mean, the way this industry works is it's just these trends ebb and flow, and that's the cool gun of the moment, and everybody's going to have one. That's just the way that this is always done. And everybody always says, well, this is the best new thing, and we're never going back, and it's amazing. But, you know, 5 years from now, it'll just be some other system. So, you know, I say let them do what they want. It's certainly not my favorite platform for a variety of reasons. But I think a lot of them are doing it because it's cool and it gets clicks. I've noticed that, you know, whenever you review like whatever the gun of the moment is, it'll quadruple your views for a while on that video sometimes, if not more. Sometimes it'll be more popular by a factor of 10, and that drives a lot of folks to make switches. And then on top of that, you know, there's been some speculation that perhaps SIG is paying for all of that publicity. I can't say either way, but one does have to wonder, I suppose. Overrunator asks, if you like the P99, what do you think about the P30 LEM? I like the LEM trigger. I tend to prefer on HKs the standard DASA, but I don't have anything against the LEM. I like it. I like that the reset is shorter. There's some other parts about it that I'm not super crazy about, but I would take the LEM system over a lot of other things. That's for damn sure. Creeping Iron says, I would have loved if they did a 25th anniversary edition or something for the gun instead of killing it off with a whimper. Yeah, the P99, yeah, absolutely. They should have done just something. But I really wanted to see it fully updated, like a Gen 3. Yeah, it'd be a Gen 3. That's what I wanted. Robert Strauss says P99 would be everyday carry for me. Plus the P99 made its first view in the James Bond movie Die Another Day. Was it Die Another Day? I thought it was in Tomorrow Never Dies or whatever it was. Cause doesn't he go into that gun room and Brosnan's like, the new Walther, I've been meaning to ask Q for one of these or something. I forget. It's something like that. I could be wrong. Yeah, titanium coated P99 would be awesome. Creeping Iron says, I can't believe that Bond swapped back to the PPK. It literally makes zero practical sense. Yeah, I've thought about this as well. It's fucking stupid. It's one of those things that takes me out of the movie. I see it and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what is wrong with you, James Bond? Why are you carrying a 380? Not that there's anything wrong with a 380. It's just that there are so many better guns that he could be carrying in that same size class, you know? James Bond originally carried that Beretta pocket pistol, which is, you know, I think that may make more sense in some ways than the PPK does. Josh asks, what are your thoughts on the MHS program? I've read about shenanigans with that and that the Army didn't do a second round of torture testing and just went with the SIG. Yeah, I mean, I've heard the same thing. I think choosing the SIG really had more to do with money than anything else because, look, a pistol in a military context is, small arms are already, well, the war in Ukraine has maybe proved this to be false, but small arms are less important than ever anyway, and then the pistol is really the least of the small arms. And so it looks to me like the Army just wanted to save, you know, the absolute most fucking money possible, and that's why they went with the 320, because ultimately it's not really going to be used the way some other things will be used. So I think they just went with the most cash saving option. Sean asks, do you think Walther needs to do something other than handguns? They can't seem to get out of the PPK's shadow. Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe they could do some kind of cool rifle that, you know, Walther being German, it would inevitably be based on the AR-180, just like every other non-AR-15 out there. But yeah, that would be cool. But I mean, I think that really Walther's problem is just marketing. Like, they don't do a good job of that. They don't do a good job with marketing and branding in general. That's their Achilles heel. They could be a lot more popular if they wanted to be. Arkard says the Army should have gone with the M9A3. Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's, you know, there was some evidence that the Beretta upgrade plan was also going to be pretty cost effective. I think it was still more than the SIG. But the problem is, you know, obviously I've never served. I mean, look at me. You know, I would last 2 seconds in the military. But a lot of folks who have served have told me that the hatred for the 92 series is so strong that was also a factor, that they fucking hate those guns. But they were having you know, the ones in service were having trouble because they're ill-maintained. A friend of mine who served basically said that he was more impressed that he would see a 92 that had the locking block had needed to be changed 10,000 rounds ago, and the recoil spring is floppy, and it still kind of works. You know, any gun is not going to function well under those circumstances. Yeah, Creeping Iron says Walther is now making an F model, which, to boil it down immediately, is like an easy from Smith. Yeah, I mean, I got the email about that, and it's like, it's a Walther for ladies. Do you want a Walther for ladies? As though women somehow require different guns. I thought about buying one just because it'd be funny and reviewing it on the channel, but I thought that was rather hilarious, and so did the women in my life. They found that very, very funny. Yeah, the P99. This is one of those designs that just, when I was talking about the Glock 19 in the Glock 19 review, I talked about how this was really the other super reliable polymer pistol at the time, and this system still to this day is tremendously reliable. The PPQ, I have that one PPQ that I've been shooting for 6 years or something. I got it shortly after I started seeing them locally, and it's still never had any problems. I don't think it's even had a single malfunction, and everything malfunctions eventually. William Nance says, I've spent the last 2 nights changing the front sight on my Gearson Beretta clone. Now I'm starting on the rear side. Pray for me to Odin. Now, fucking be careful with that, because if the Gearson is anything like actual Berettas, those are the tightest fucking dovetails in the industry. Like, it is so hard to get sights in and out of a Beretta. It's really hard. So hopefully the Gearson does not have those super tight tolerances. You can really fuck some shit up trying to get the sights in and out of one of those things. The Creeping Iron says, the Janik TP9 just makes me a little sad. I know it exists, but why should I accept the substitute? Yeah, the TP9's cool. I mean, I've got 2 of them. I like it. It's a cool gun. The trigger is a little too light for me. In my opinion, it makes me a little nervous. One of mine's like 3 pounds, so that's a little light for a striker fire gun. The finish is cheap. The grip texture sucks, but the grip texture sucks on this too. It's... Josh says the PDP-F is legit way more comfortable than the regular grip, the female version. But see, why don't they just fucking offer 2 grip sizes? Like, why does it have to be the female version? You know what I mean? Just be like, this is a fucking smaller grip for motherfuckers with smaller hands, Like, that's, well, why not just do that? Like, I got little hands, I'm little, I'm like 5'8". Like, I might want little grip, Known Secret says, I had to pay a gunsmith to switch out my 92X rear sights. I beat the crap out of the original sights and it didn't even budge. Yeah, I mean, that shit is in there good. It is. They are really in there. The front sights tend to be easier to get out, but man, the rear ones... Creeping Iron says, with my 21st birthday barreling towards me, my new ideal carry pairing I found would be this Glock 19 I found at my neighbor's shop and a Ruger 380 Max at my dad's work. The Glock is cherry colored and the Ruger is Cerakoted pink. Yeah, do it, man. Yeah. Colostomy bag. Great name. Who wouldn't want to be a colostomy? I feel like a fucking colostomy bag tonight. Says, thanks for your Makarov videos. They're awesome. I love carrying mine just for fun. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy. And Lorenzo likes Mexican Coca-Cola. Me too, man. That's one of my, I pretty much just drink black coffee and water, but I will fuck up some Mexican Coke. I buy an embarrassing number of those things. It's probably terrible for my health. I'm probably slowly or quickly getting the diabetes from the Mexican Cokes. H&K till the end of the day says, I paid my local gunsmith to install some Trijicon HDs on my 92A1. I got the slide back all mangled up. Man, that's just fucking inexcusable. You should have reamed them out over that. That's some amateur hour bullshit. Mark asks, is the PDP-F a revolver? So the lady's brain doesn't get overwhelmed. Yeah, I mean that seems to me that's what the gun companies are always secretly saying. Well, not so secretly, there's so much fucking misogyny in gun marketing, in gun stores, in the way the gun community sort of tries to bring women in with do you want this gun and muddy girl? And it's a revolver, so even you can figure out how to work it. It's fucking offensive, just women can shoot pretty much any gun. They're just as capable as anyone else is. I've never had Mexican Pepsi, but I'd give it a shot. Being a South Carolinian, though, it's all about the Coca-Cola. Volpegula asks, what's the difference between Coke and Mexican Coke? Okay. All right. Get this. it's real sugar. And so it tastes totally different. It's just real fucking cane sugar. Let me see. let me see exactly what the ingredients are here. Oh yeah. Check out this healthy concoction. We've got carbonated water, cane sugar, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, and caffeine. Yeah. That's good stuff. Cane sugar. Yeah. Get the diabetes right from the source. Yeah, it's a health food. See, it's organic or something. I actually do think that they sell these at the local organic grocery store. We have this chain here called Earth Fare. There aren't that many Earth Fairs nationwide, but I love Earth Fare, and I think these Mexican Cokes come from the Earth Fare. I think that's where Mrs. Penguin has been getting those for me, because I used to buy them from this place down the road, and it was getting really expensive. And also they started asking some questions. They started to be like, where the fuck are all these Cokes going? Like, what are you doing with these? I don't like people prying in my business like that. It's, it's between me and, my fucking body, and my gallstones, which I'm probably going to get gallstones from eating all this sugar. It's between me and my gallbladder where all these Cokes are going. I don't have a Costco membership, which is, Yeah, and Brian Vick says, be careful, some Mexican Coke uses high fructose corn syrup because it's becoming cheaper. Oh, I know. I thoroughly vet my Mexican Coke. It's only the pure cane sugar for me. It's thoroughly vetted, Sean O says, speaking of revolvers, just got a GP100. Any recommendations for a holster? I'm assuming leather over Kydex. I mean, yeah, leather's more comfortable for something like that. Well, quick question. I mean, are you carrying it, or are you like concealed carrying it, or are you just like going to carry it outside like as a woods gun? Because if you're just going to carry it outside as a woods gun, I would go with Diamond Leather. They're really excellent. They're good people, and I like them. They're really nice. Oh man, you guys are talking about, Mark says the Springfield Armory voiceover guy is an example. Yeah, that's fucking terrible. It's like, you gotta protect your home because you gotta win for victory. You got a V for victory. This gun, it's gonna help you defend your family. I hate those ads. I'm really, really, really sick of them. Yeah, I forgot that Taurus marketed the judge toward women. I do remember that. That's yeah. HK till the end of the day says, hey, no cursing. His wife's in the room. He's obviously fucking kidding, but there was a guy who said that. He said that he can't watch my videos when his wife's in the room because he doesn't want her to hear all that naughty talk. It's very bad. Can't let the ladies hear any naughty words. Sean says he was talking about the GP100 and a holster. He says just a range toy in competition. Really just wanted to get a good one. When to get good at one is sort of a goal, other than to shoot better. I can't read tonight, but I would go with Diamond D leather in that case. They're really great. That's what I would go with. Oh, that's right. Always the victor, never the victim. So fucking terrible. I would never, in addition to all the usual shit with Springfield that we all give them hell about and talk about constantly, I would never buy something from them just because of the fucking marketing. Now watch, I'm going to end up with a Springfield 1911 in a year or something, but it's just, it is the cringiest cringe to ever cringe. It's fucking awful. The Buggy Man. Oh, Sean, you're good, man. I knew what you were saying. I knew what you were getting at. Oh, the how do you like the TLR7 sub? I like it. I've got one on my HK45C, actually. You know, funny you mentioned that. It's really, really great. It's pretty bright, too. It's cool. I like it. You know, I kind of swore off the Streamlight stuff for a while because I've seen some of them fail at the range and whatnot where, you know, Surefires will fail, too. I've had that happen, but it is less likely. And I haven't had mod lights long enough to know when they fail exactly, but I've been pretty impressed with these recent batches of Streamlights. These have been really reliable for me. But any thoughts on the Springfield 2011? Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's a Springfield 2011. I mean, I'm sure it probably feels worse than the custom ones, and it's just... I have 3 1111 cards raffling a judge, an AR-7, and a knife. I don't know what an 1111 is. I don't know what that means. They should call it a 911. Yeah, they really 911 that gun. Oh yeah, that was on September 11th. Like, I kept having this thought, like, scrolling through gun social media. It's like, that's like far right virtue signaling, you know? Like, that's their thing, is like, you have to virtue signal that you're somehow anti 9/11. Like, I would fucking hope so. Like, Jesus Christ, like nobody thinks you were for it, you know? So so anyway, it's just, yeah, that really irritating to look at. Oh, Shark, actually, you were complaining about it in the Discord. Yeah, I need to spend more time on the Discord. I spend way too much time away. Yeah, I'm pro 7-Eleven too. I think that of the 11s, I think 7-Eleven is probably the better one, you know? There's a lot less terrorism at 7-Eleven, generally, I've found. Volpecula says, on the topic of lights, I remember during a podcast you mentioned that Surefire did something pretty shady, but the gun community just forgot about it. Could you elaborate on that? Well, fuck, no, I forgot. How? Yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember that. If somebody remember, I mean, I'm sure they did, but it was trying to remember what they were a part of. I vaguely remember that now. Anyway. Drinks are better. And 511, you know, all the 511, 7-Eleven, way better than 9/11, you know. So when is far right social media going to virtue signal that they love 7-Eleven and 511, you know? No, I appreciate your light pun, F Mark, but yeah, no, man, I think what you may be thinking about I don't know, I'm just throwing this out here. Something that sticks in my mind is, you know, the pressure pad, the Surefire pressure pads, really sort of fuck up the output of most lights, and you know, they say they don't, but they do, and that really bugs a lot of people. That bugs me, because on some things that's the only pressure pad that actually fits. But you know, trying to think what else Surefire's done. Somebody will remember. Does anybody know what other lights work on this? By the way, I've tried everything I can think of on it, and I think this was really the best option. So H&K's till the end of days put a mod light on his P2000, and it fits like a glove, and the throw is really nice. Yeah, the mod lights are really, really outstanding. I'm bothered though by the lack of a momentary switch, because that's a big part of how I use a light. I don't know if my techniques are outdated, but when I was coming up and getting some training, the thing to do was to hit them with the light real quick and then move and shoot. You know, that was a common thing that we were doing, and the momentary makes that way easier. I don't really even know how to easily manipulate something without the momentary. That's just part of the way that I use a light. So I've been reticent to get the Mod Light pistol light for that reason, and also holster compatibility. I don't want to have to buy, all my holsters are for X300s. I don't want to have to buy however many new holsters. Even if I end up liking it, you know, then I'd have to buy 15 fucking new holsters. But Creeping Iron says, gotta love when folks will remark about CCW being the upper hand when they have shirts with reverse flags on the sleeves or other sheepdog junk plastered on the rear. Yeah, that cracks me up. It's like giant signs that are like, everybody, I have a fucking gun on my person. Or worse, where they're like gun stickers on your car. It's like, this truck protected by a Glock. I mean, congratulations. You just told everybody that they need to break your fucking window and take your Glock out of the glove box, dumbass. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's, I don't understand that at all. It's really, it's very, very dumb. I do not understand that. The light on my Walther, it's the Streamlight TLR 7A, apparently. And, I like it. Chris says, a hot take, a tragedy happens. The government, how can we leverage this to gain more restrictions on firearms? The firearms industry, how do we profit from this new government scheme? Yeah, it's a tale as old as time. Like, that's the way the cycle works. Like, the gun industry isn't pro-gun. The gun industry is pro-maximum profit. And whatever is required to reach maximum profit, that's what they're going to do, even if it completely screws us over. And we've seen that time and time again. It just be that way. And yeah, and the government's not going to let a good crisis go to waste. You know, can't do that. It's always been like that too. You know, for the last 100 years, it's just been that steady erosion from one crisis to the next. Something is peeled away a little bit every time until there's going to be nothing left. It's just the way it is, and we've just kind of come to accept it. Like, people don't get as upset as it seems like they used to, and you know, that's just anecdotal. Like, that's just what it feels like to me. But I noticed that now that some of the brace documentation is coming out, you know, what ATF may do about braces with, you know, the amnesty and all that stuff, people aren't as mad as I would have expected them to be. This will be one of the greatest gun registration schemes in human history, and we're just really not that mad. We're surprisingly not that mad. I know it's because it hasn't officially come out yet, but I would have expected this to be bigger news than it is. H&K till the end of days says, I was worried about that, but I will say I like the buttons way more than the X300. Always overshooting, trying to turn it off and switch back to the other on position. Don't have that problem with the PL350. Yeah, the Mod Light does have way better switches. That's very true. But that momentary switch, I don't know. But maybe the switches are so easy to manipulate it doesn't matter. I don't know. But I don't understand why the fuck they didn't just put a momentary switch on there too. But Josh says, imagine if the NFA were uplifted, you'll see a million new suppressors on the market and short barrel ARs. That's true, but you know, the gun industry is really good at calculating what's going to sell and how. And I think there's a case to be made that loosening restrictions would slow gun sales, because we buy so much because we always have this sort of this feeling in the back of our minds like this might be it, this might be the last time, and I want to make sure that I have this. And some of that might go away if the NFA is repealed. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I want the NFA fucking gone. I'm just telling you that's how the gun industry seems to think about those restrictions being lifted. It's very shady. They don't actually have our best interests at heart. They have profits in mind. Yeah, people always seem like they're angry about things involving the Second Amendment. That's true, but like there's just not as much sort of general anger as I would have expected. And again, maybe it's just the sources that I'm looking at, but like I don't see that sort of constant discussion about what we're going to do about it and a way forward. And I was really surprised by that, just because of the scale of braces. And I hope I'm wrong. Like I hope I'm wrong, and we do get as mad as ever. But I'm seeing less anger and more resignation generally in the gun community. But again, that could just be in my specific corner. So nothing's going to happen until 12/29. I mean, that would be nice. Yeah. When next status conference, order to see if rule from ATF on braces will take place or not. That's good news. I mean, I hope that's I hope that nothing comes of it, because that's going to affect a shitload of people. I mean, there are a staggering number of braced pistols out there. It is truly a fuck ton, a metric fuck ton, which is that's a derived unit. Josh says it might be due to a constant barrage. It has a lot of people just kind of apathetic to, continued gun restrictions. I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, it does feel like it's something all the time, and we just kind of go, it's gonna keep happening. Volpecula says, I don't even understand how they would enforce anything to do with braces. I mean, I guess it would just be like anything else, because they're talking about, there will be certain parameters that have to be met, and certain configurations won't be legal. I mean, it's no different than people just circumventing the NFA now by just breaking the law. I mean, I assume that's what'll happen, but like none of it's really enforceable, but it keeps people afraid, because the penalty for it is so strong. Like it's not worth fucking with it generally, Like, would you get caught putting a stock on a non-SBR? Probably not. But what if you did? It's not worth it. The penalty is so extreme and draconian. Yeah, like what Shark Actual says, and stores are going to enforce it by selling compliant stuff. That's what he's exactly right. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it just, anytime something like this happens, the gun industry just sees it as, oh, we'll make some new shit to sell them, and everybody will have to buy it. It's all very convenient. Yeah, and Herman's saying the ATF wants the amnesty period, for the $200 stamp to be required or not. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to register it as an SBR, and you're going to have to do the whole SBR thing. Sorry, I wasn't clear when I was talking about that earlier. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's proposed. So like for a lot of people who have certain configurations for their braced pistols, they're basically going to tell you can either take it apart or you can register it as an SBR, and they may or may not waive the $200 stamp. And yeah, and Thinking Man says, 13 months for a Form 4. We're going to be dead by the time they process millions of pistol braces. Fuck yeah, they would have to like triple the size of the ATF, and even then they might not be able to get that shit done. I mean, it's one of those things. It reminds me of, whenever you hear people on the left say, we need to have a gun buyback. It's one of those things where people are not understanding the scale of something. It's like the ATF is not understanding the scale of this. Like, it's millions of people filing all at once for something that takes forever anyway. Well, gun buybacks are like that too. People say, we'll give everybody, $300 for their guns or whatever, and they'll turn them in and they'll be illegal and it'll save all the children. It would bankrupt the nation a couple times over to buy every gun back from everybody. It's literally impossible. It can't even be done, And this is the brace thing is a similar situation where it's just people not understanding the numerical scale. JG Wentworth 877 Cash Now says, gotta go, just found your channel and I really like it. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. I'm incredibly grateful. Yeah, that's what braces were. Yeah, that's exactly what braces were. It was a money-making opportunity, a massive money-making opportunity. Now they're going to get to sell us stuff twice, like you said, because if there's some kind of compliance solution that comes out, there will be some kind of legal loophole or workaround, and they'll be there to sell it to you. It'll be great. $100 a pop, $100 per gun. So, did you guys, I don't know if you guys watched this. Did you guys watch my FN 509 video by chance? I feel like we should also talk about that because I know that made some people angry. I'll go grab the 509. I'm gonna slide off screen like that in my chair because it's really weird. Well, I stashed it somewhere stupid, so I can't get to it right now. But anyway, let's talk about the 509. Does anybody have anything to say about the 509? Does anybody have any questions about the 509 and what went wrong with it? If Aaron Cowan could read, he'd be very upset. Yeah. Josh says your 509 video probably gave Coley Noir a hernia. He loves that pistol. Yeah, I've noticed that. Thank you, man. Says effing overhyped by the influencer community. Thanks for a realistic review. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching it. I really, really appreciate that. Josh says, have you cleaned the Striker channel yet? No, I'm probably not gonna. I think it's fun. It's funnier to just keep shooting it as is and just see what happens. William Nance says, nice hardwood floors. Thank you, man. In the South, gotta have hardwood floors. It's a thing. Creeping Iron says, I need to shoot my friend's new 509 he got today. You thought the midsize was okay a year ago. Yeah, first impressions for me with the 509 were also excellent. It's a great gun, felt good. Sights are great, but then the longer I shot it, I initially in some podcasts and things were like, oh yeah, this is going really, really great. But the more I used it, then the reliability problems started to show up. And for the record, I was using both recoil springs. I did not just use one recoil spring and say, hey, it's fucked up. I used a variety of ammo. I used both recoil springs and it was still having trouble. So I don't know. FN makes amazing rifles. I don't know about the pistols. Their hammer-fired gun from like 10 years ago was pretty great. But these are made locally. It just sucks. Like I want something to be, some gun to be made in Colombia that's just excellent. Like we have PSA and FN here in town, and you know, PSA is a good company. Like I used to shoot there. I know a lot of those guys. I do work on some of their guitars. Really nice folks. But I don't know, you know, some of those guns, they have some troubles. I've had some troubles with one that I've got. And then FN, you know, it's not looking good. I can't, this pistol's not working great, and I can't afford any of their rifles. So, Creeping Iron says the FN high power is basically the Smith & Wesson CSX. I mean, they're both single action. I mean, you know, Chris had a striker break of the FN 509 after 40 rounds. Yeah, that seems to be, I heard that a lot after I posted the video. I got lucky, my striker hasn't broken, but a lot of people said, hey, you know, I immediately I got it and the striker broke like the first range trip. So yeah, that sucks. Yeah, and Volpecula almost bought a 509. Y'all should still get them though, just because I wonder if, you know, if it's just my gun. But then, you know, then there was all the striker stuff that was in the comments, so I don't know. But I noticed that the 509, that review had a unique ability to enrage people. Like I don't understand this thing that happens where people get so hung up on one individual product that it comes to sort of like identify their entire personality, you know? Like your personality should not be defined by a hunk of plastic with some metal on top that shoots lead things out of a tube. Like that's sad if that's your whole thing is tied up in, you know, what somebody else thinks of your gun. But that's really common with these more niche pistols. Folks get really hung up on that being their whole identity, and it really enrages people. And if that's you, if you're the kind of person who gets enraged by that sort of thing, you need to take a long, hard look at yourself, because I'm absolutely gonna ridicule you in the comments, because that's what I do. That's let's see. Josh says, so you're saying PSA isn't the pinnacle of perfection? Yeah, you know, almost like I'm saying that. Yeah. And PSA is not bad. I just want to be really clear on that. The PSA is not a bad company. They don't make crap, but it's just they do QC stuff does slip through pretty regularly, as I found out with the AK. Yeah, well, Pecula says, you know, the issue with people getting, you know, sort of emotionally attached to their guns is they buy the gun, they shoot it once with no problems, and then, you know, they basically just watch reviews of the gun they already own, which makes no sense, and they just talk about how much they love the gun. It's like I used to cycle, and I remember that was a thing where it's like there were a lot of people who didn't like riding. They liked being on a forum talking about riding and talking about all the shit you could buy to ride. You know, guitars like that too. It's like everything that I have in here, yeah, it's a lot of crap, but it's stuff that I used to make albums. There are a lot of people I know that just like talking about guitar and buying guitar shit more than they like actually playing guitar. Like they can tell you everything about, you know, different types of preamp tubes and stuff, and then you sit down with them and you say, hey, play me a song, and they literally can't play. Like they're like stumbling through every Led Zeppelin riff playing it wrong, and you think you've spent all your time on preamp tubes and didn't bother to actually learn how to play the guitar. That happens with guns. There are a lot of people who they have guns, but it's not about shooting the gun for them. It's about buying guns and talking about guns. I don't know about y'all, but I'm really just here for the shooting part. That's the whole deal. But you know, yeah, Leo Fender could not play. Yeah, he did, and I actually think that's Leo's genius. I think that's why Leo was able to sort of approach guitar making from a very different standpoint, because he didn't know what a guitar was supposed to be like. He was able to approach it completely fresh. And I'm actually such a big Telecaster fan. I think that the original yellow Blackguard Telecaster is probably the pinnacle of electric guitar design. let's see. I need to catch up here. I went on a guitar rant and I missed a bunch of stuff. Yep, SIG has QC issues. I've seen that in person. I haven't talked about that much on the channel because I don't have a SIG product to review or anything like that. But I've seen some things. I've seen things. Actually, there was one time like the SIG rep or something was at a local range, and I went there and shot a couple of them, and one of them was having this thing where it wouldn't go into battery. It would like, the slide would go forward, it would kind of hitch and then go bloop, the rest of the way in. It's good stuff. Yeah, like Herman said, PSA helped make firearms in common usage, and so for that reason, PSA has actually, this is one case of consumerism actually being good for us in a way, because now so many people own AR-15s. I'm not saying they're not going to try to ban them, of course they are, but it would be way more difficult now than it would have been pre-PSA. PSA has put millions and millions of ARs onto the market, and for that, we thank them greatly. Chris says that he's not a trigger snob. He likes the Glock Gen 3 trigger. So do I. But his FN 509 trigger was 9 pounds out of the box. Those do vary an astounding amount. Like they rate it from, they're like, it could be between 5.5 and 7.5 pounds. That's a hell of a range, but yeah, they go heavier than that. They don't seem to like break in that well either. Creeping Iron says that's how we got Glock and GoldenEye for the N64, outsider artistry. And what he's talking about is, people outside of an industry looking in and going, I think I'm going to design something. And that does, sometimes that can bring a certain level of genius that you wouldn't get otherwise, because like you can trap your mind by working in an industry. You have an expectation of what things are supposed to look like and how they're supposed to work. And that can cause you to not be able to break out of the box, right? And sometimes having someone come in who doesn't know anything about the industry can be the best thing for it. That can bring truly fresh ideas sometimes. Let's see what's going on the TGP Discord. I'm just curious. I'm gonna just look and see who's on there. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Stochastic. Next time. But yeah, that's about all I got on the 92X and the P99. Not that we really talked about that much. I mostly just fucking rambled at y'all for an hour and 20 minutes. But do you have any questions? Any questions for me about anything? I always feel dumb asking that, like I have some like important knowledge. I'm the dumbest person in the world. I feel kind of like an ass being like, ask me questions and I'm gonna answer them for you. Thanks, Herman. I appreciate it. It's always great to see you, my friend. Thinking Man says, when's the next podcast with John? I don't know. We need to schedule one. That's always really, really fun. I love John. His channel, I always have to plug it, the Practical Tactical Minimalist. Check him out if you're not already. Most of y'all are probably already watching him, but he's awesome. Outstanding person. Really, really great. Volpecula asks, when's the next Q&A video going to be up? I need to do one of those. I've kind of like half recorded one. I may solicit more questions from y'all soon. Yeah, I want to do a nice long one, but like just an hour of real rambling. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it. That's really kind of you, man. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the P30L. I wish I had a P30L. The L is really hard to get these days. It's really, really fucking hard to get. And Josh asks, whenever you carry an autoloader, do you carry with a light at all? Yes, I do. Around the shop, like, where it doesn't matter, printing doesn't matter, anything like that. Yeah, I will absolutely carry it with a light on it. I've got a really great Midwest Industries holster that has that's cut for a Glock and an X300. Yeah, it's really great. Really great. It's a Glock 19 X300. It's a great combination. It's bulky, but it works. Majestic asks, best hammer fired full size 9mm. I don't know if there is a best per se. I don't sort of think that way. If you're gonna go polymer, the P30 is amazing. If you're going to go metal, of course you can't go wrong with the Beretta. I like the old Smith & Wessons a lot, the old hammer-fired Smith & Wessons. ECS, any books you're currently reading? What the fuck am I reading? Let me look at Audible real quick. I forget what I've been listening to. It's probably going to be something embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because that's who I am. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so a couple of so I'll give you 4 selections here. I'm gonna give you the dumb ones first. So because House of the Dragon is on HBO right now, and you guys know I'm such a big George R.R. Martin fan, I've been re-listening to Fire and Blood, of course, because hot D, got to get caught up on my hot D, and then The World of Ice and Fire, super lame, I'm a fucking nerd. I've also been re-listening to Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey. Emily Wilson's translation is really interesting because it's written in plainer language, and given the way oral poetry was recited in the ancient world, I think that's probably, I don't want to say if more accurate is there. I don't think more accurate is the right way to say it, but it's a more authentic experience, let's say, most likely. So I highly recommend Emily Wilson's The Odyssey, and I recommend listening to it instead of reading it, because you would have listened to it originally anyway. It was oral poetry, and who doesn't like oral? Everybody likes a little oral every now and again. So yeah, Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey, and then last of all, the British comedian Jimmy Carr is one of my favorite comedians. Big influence on what I think is funny, and a lot of the jokes that I make. And him and Sean Locke, another British comedian. Sean Locke tragically died of cancer last year, and he was. God, he was funny. Look up on YouTube. Look up Sean Locke Rectum of the Year if you wanna laugh your ass off. But Jimmy Carr's book Before and Laughter is really great. Highly recommend it. It's weird. It's like it's like a self-help book, which I fucking hate self-help books, but it's Jimmy Carr jokes, so it works really, really well. It's fantastic. Really great. John says, new gun owner and subscriber, you teach me so much about this stuff. Thanks. Man, thank you so much. I hope I actually do have some good information to impart. I'm God knows I'm still learning all the time. Chris asks, what's your opinion on Ruger? I think they are run more by committee than actually asking the customers what they want. Well, I love Ruger. I have a ton of Rugers, an embarrassing number of Rugers, and their customer service for me has always been the best in the industry. Their quality control is fucking terrible, and buying a Ruger, you have a 50% chance that it will have to be returned to the factory, but they're really good about immediately sending you a return label, getting it turned around quick. They're great. I love Ruger. And Ruger makes my favorite revolvers. I am a die-hard Ruger revolver fan. Have you seen the Langdon P30? Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it looks great to me anyway. I'd love to give it a shot. What do you think of Norm Macdonald? I love his dry, rambling humor. Yeah, Norm was great. I mean, I don't know a lot of his later stuff that folks like so much. I'm just not familiar with. I'm mostly familiar with his work on SNL from when I was growing up. Majestic asks, do you plan on doing another update on the Ruger Mark IV? That's the video that led me here. Man, maybe I hadn't thought about that, but maybe that could be interesting. I haven't shot that gun in a long time. Really, I shot it so much that, I mean, I really need to detail strip it and get it running again. It still has plenty of life left. I'm not saying it's like almost dead, but it needs some help. I put that gun through hell. Hey, creeping iron, yeah, man, I've been there. You know, we all get that broke sometimes. Sometimes it just be that way. Thoughts on the Colt Python? I like it. You know, I like the old ones a little bit more than the new ones that I've handled. But you know, that just makes me sound like a pretentious Colt person. But I do like the older Colts a little bit more. Chris says Langdon always produces products that try very hard to molest his wallet. They absolutely do. They absolutely do. And yes, you would go to hell if you Cerakoted a Colt Anaconda. You would go straight to hell, straight to Christian hell. It would be awful, like Miltonian hell, you know, like right in the middle of Tartarus. That's straight where you're going. Yeah. All right, y'all. Last call for questions, and then I'm gonna log off here. But this was a lot of fun. Okay, Josh says there's discussion around the internet that Glock is the new Colt and that they don't listen to their customers and are stagnating. Maybe. I mean, it's been a long time since Glock released something that was sort of truly innovating, but we were talking earlier about profits, right? Profits are the goal for the gun industry, right? Glock's not really hurting for sales. I think that SIG has stolen a ton of their market share over the last 2 years, let's say. And I think that that's going to catch up with them. I think that SIG may eventually take that dominant space in the market. I don't know, and I think then Glock will surely have to innovate. But until that happens, they're going to keep just riding the wave that they've been riding for years. The guns work fine, you know. Like, I don't know what massive thing they would need to change, really. You know. That said, I'd like to see them, you know, experiment a little bit, I guess. Sean asks, how many practical guns do you own versus because I wanted it guns? I really only consider like 3 of my guns practical, and everything else I own is just because I wanted it. And what I mean by that is you really only need a really good pistol of some kind, you know, preferably a 9mm, you know, whatever you want. For me, it's a 10mm, and a really good AR-15. And maybe another smaller pistol that's, you know, easier to carry under certain circumstances. Other than that, those are the only. It's all just because you want it. After that, you know, once you have your needs met, this is what I was talking about in that video. You know, about people who will buy like 10 PSA AR-15s instead of like one really nice rifle. I think it's good to just buy a couple of really good practical things. And then if you want, you can stop there, or you can keep going just buying crap that you like. Yeah, and sometimes you do have to get experimental and freaky. Companies need to remember that. But well, thanks, y'all. Volpeco says, or a shotgun on top of that, depending on your hunting needs. Absolutely agree, 100%. Shotgun is super versatile. That's a really good idea. Depending on where you live, shotgun could be the ticket. But yeah, Herman says buy once, cry once. I totally agree. It's better to own a couple of really nice things than a ton of shitty things. It's, you know, it's like that with guitars too. I don't have that many guitars, but I have guitars that I really, really like and that I'll have for the rest of my life. So it's just my perspective, but I like that perspective because it's mine, you know. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful evening. This was a lot of fun, and I'll see you soon. I've got a couple videos in the works. We've talked about on the Discord about me doing some vlogs. You guys want to see shower gun real bad, so you know, we're probably gonna do that. Gonna do some vlogs. So that's upcoming too. But more live chats, you say, Mark? All right, we'll make it happen. All right, y'all. Nighty night. Night night.